Boys, we found a box.
What's in the box, Jake?
Box is full of all our old vintage merchandise. We've got mugs, we've got caps, we've got the white box tee, we've got the Let's Get Into It tee, but there is absolutely next to no stock. So there's a handful of items in each size, I think.
We thought all this was gone.
They were our best sellers.
But we actually found a box underneath a bunch of other boxes, and we're ready to sell it.
It was sold out, and then it is back from the grave purely because we found a box. There is I cannot stress, there is next to no items left in each of the sizes. So if there is an item in your size, pick it up because it might be the very last one.
Head to macpac.com.au, grab your order.
G'day, welcome to the MacPack.
We're back.
My name is Jamie Kenner, and to my left, in order, the biggest Will and Woody fan on the panel, it's my little brother Joe. How are you, Joe boy?
Yes, I've been listening to him since I was like 10 years old. I'm a massive fan.
Oh my God, and to my right, coming in at 6'1", as he does each and every week, it's the baby brother of the pack who we call Junior Boy. Junior Boy, how are you?
Radio legend Will McMahon from Will and Woody on the show today.
Absolutely massive scenes. You remember him way back. We'll get into this in the chat with him, but you remember him way back from the fist pump moments.
Iconic.
Are we interested to see what he remembers? Because obviously we loved it, but he would look back because it was early days of his career.
Yeah.
He might look back on
I
that.
don't remember.
Yeah, potentially. He is an absolute superstar. He's very open. He's very funny. He's very genuine.
Yeah.
He's just a lovely man.
That's it.
I'm very excited to chat to him. Ladies and gents, this is Will McMahon. Boys.
Flamingos.
How are we all? Are we all well?
Fantastic. Absolutely hyped.
Fired up to be here today, Jake.
Big show on the cards. We are fortunate enough today to be joined by a bit of radio royalty
You
over
betcha.
here in Australia. We've been huge fans for as long as we can remember. It's always funny when we do tell people how long we've been fans for.
Yep.
And then we work out how old you were at the time. And it's just like, wow, you were in like primary school or something. We are obviously talking about the first half of the Will and Woody combination. I was going to say the better half of the Will and Woody conversation, but that's until obviously we chat to Woody and then we'll completely forget that we ever mentioned that. Will, how are you, sir?
G'day, guys. Yeah, I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Whereabouts are you joining us from today?
It's specifically the studio in the back of my house in Melbourne.
Yeah, I love that. Fantastic.
Yeah.
We often start our guest chats with a little bit of a conversation as to where we first became aware of the respective guest. And I guess with you, it probably stems from early days of radio. We've been chatting about this. I think it was a Saturday morning show.
Yeah, I remember leaving basketball and or cricket and listening to it in the car ride home.
Yeah, and most memorable was the fist bump moments that you used to do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember
Can you
that.
talk us through what sort of part of your life you were going through way back then?
Sure. So I think so we were actually just saying off mic before we started that you guys are doing some gear on RTR and other community radio, and like I was just saying to you, they're the best. They're like the best times that you'll ever have in radio because nobody really gives a fuck what you do.
Yeah.
Which is like it's a beautiful time. It's this kind of like there's no ratings expectation, or you're not trying to let's be honest, you're not making any money, so nobody really cares what you're doing, so you can kind of just get away with. I mean, that weekend show was so shit. I think someone unearthed a clip of us the other day, and Woody and I were just laughing about how bad it was because we were so nervous. We'd never done we'd never done any community radio or anything like that. We actually just started doing stage shows. We were doing sketch comedy at uni, and we just got lucky one night. Just a guy just said to us, "You guys could do that for a living," and then next minute we were doing a radio bit, and so we just had no idea what we were doing, and so like those shows were kind of like earmarked by, because we were used to writing sketches. We used to write Woody would write like whole radio breaks, like script them.
Oh, wow.
So he would write like, this is what I'm going to start the break with, and then I'm gonna ask you this, and then I think you should ask me that. So we'd know, like it was actually horrific. Like it was as shit as you could possibly imagine. Like it was like a dramatized table read.
You're like, line.
Seriously, we had these scripts like Woody and like. We were so pumped about it. We just didn't want to fuck up. So we were so pumped about it. We'd get there on a Thursday night for a 2-hour show on a Saturday. Like that's the amount of prep we'd put in. And we'd, by the end of Friday or whatever, we'd both have these printed 4 A4 sheets. And that would be all the breaks that we were going to do on Saturday morning.
That's
so
crazy.
It was just mad, right? Like it was, and I think that's probably why the fist pump moments were so fun, was because they were the only unscripted bit. Yeah. That was the only bit where we were actually relaxed, because we were like, oh, great, we don't have to read our lines anymore. We could actually just hang out.
Unreal. At what point did you decide to do away with the lines in the rehearsal?
Oh, I imagine probably a combination of somebody telling us that it was absolute dog meat, and also we got sacked pretty quickly after that as well. Like we got the arse. We probably did that weekend show for about a year before we sort of just got made redundant. I mean, like, yeah, wouldn't you sack a radio show that was reading a script for 2 hours? But I think the thing is, and I think this is the thing about radio in general, is that you can't I do think that us reading a script is a testament to us as our chemistry, because radio, the only thing that matters in radio is chemistry. The only thing that matters is how well you get on. And because that's the only thing that people actually want to hear. They don't really care what you're saying.
Yeah.
They just want to hear how well you get along with the other person you're in the room with. That's what you're listening for, subconsciously, I think. So the fact that we did a show while we were just reading a script is pretty remarkable, and I think speaks to the fact that we just loved each other so much then. So still do.
Unreal.
That's cool. I heard Woody talk about another early on kind of thing you guys did for one of your demos. It was called Butter on Burns, which was you guys testing old wives' tales, and he like burnt his own wrist with a fork and then put butter on it to see if it worked. Yeah. And I thought that was just hilarious, the lengths he'd go to for a bit of content.
Well, the crazy thing about that was Woody hasn't lost this either, by the way. Like I think all like great content people put their, I think artwork's probably a big word for Woods, but put their artwork or their content ahead of everything else. Like, and it's because so the funny thing about that one was that, well, like he did, like he did that to himself. It burnt, like heated up a fork in his kitchen and branded himself on the forearm. And it was just me and him. There's no one else.
No one listened.
Like there's no one listening. That's not for any audience. That's just me and him sitting around his kitchen table. And I still remember the sound of the fork hitting the skin, like it sizzled. And we sent that so we were just recording that on an iPhone, and this would have been in like 2011, when your iPhone is really just a Nokia 3310 with a glass front. And so the audio was so shit. Like, but that's the audio that we recorded our first demo on, was this iPhone in between us. And I just remember sitting there and Woody telling me that he was going to do this thing. And I remember looking at him being like, yeah, but like, you're not, it's 2:00 on a Thursday, mate. Like, you're not actually going to brand yourself in the kitchen right now. And then he did it. And then the content director loved it so much, because he was like, I just can't believe that you did that, like you fucking idiot, that he did it again on our first show. So at our first show, we were like, oh, look, that was a hot bit. They loved that. So let's just do it again. So he just burned himself again.
Just every week from that point forward. Is that starting Monday?
He would have, though. Like, and that's what I was going to say is that he's just one of those people that, they just love, who loves what he does so much that he'll put that ahead of everything, It's similar. I heard a similar story very quickly about Nick Cave recently. Actually, I don't know. You guys know who Nick Cave is, right?
Yeah, the bad seeds.
Yeah. So so his mum died recently, apparently, and apparently he's claimed for a really long time that he wants to be a sculptor. He's not. He's a sculptor first and foremost, and he's a musician second.
Yeah, right.
Like a lot of people, like Joni Mitchell says the same thing about the fact that she's a painter. Anyway, he said, so he wants to be this sculptor. He'd been banging on about it for ages. Anyway, apparently the time finally opened up. He just finished touring or something, and he's like, right, cool, I'm going to finally do this sculptures. And then his mum died, and he was like, oh fuck, I've got to go over and fly over and, do everything you need to do when someone dies. There's obviously a lot, and it's your mum, and, he's grieving and everything. And he went to, basically walk out the door, and his wife stopped him and was like, stop what you're doing. Like, you've been banging on about doing these sculptures for that long. This is when you make your best art, like when you're grieving. And this is what she would want you to do. Like, this is like, there's a higher purpose for, again, I don't want to compare Nick Cave and Woody,
but we're doing it.
Grab the fork.
I think for content, yeah, that's right. We've got the fork out the back. I think for content people, there is a higher purpose. Like you just love it so much that you realize you do anything. It's different to other jobs like that.
Yeah, that's
like, like if, an accountant was, doing a spreadsheet over burying his mum, everyone would think it was a bit weird. Yeah. But if it's an artist, it's like, well, look, that's why you were put on this earth. For some reason, it means it's something different. And I think it's the same for radio people. You sort of, you get such a buzz out of doing good gear that you just start doing stupid shit for the sake of doing good gear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that sort of how you felt? Obviously, you went to law school.
Yeah.
Is that how you felt like? Because obviously you started with sketch comedy before you moved into radio. Was that something that you always knew in your heart, oh, I want to do that, but law school was like the right choice to make? Is that what you were thinking?
Oh, you really opened a can of worms there. Oh God, I could talk about this for a while because I think this is at the heart of possibly my biggest psychological hang up, which is that because of how I was raised and the school that I went to and the fact that I'm part of a very high achieving family, I've always kind of been imbued with a sense that I need to achieve in order to be loved.
Yeah.
So I've always got to sort of kind of be doing something which is worthwhile, which is sad in a lot of ways. And I think when I was younger, that's the only way that I knew how to get loved was to just do stuff that I thought was going to give me attention. So I did well at school. I liked school. So I got in to go and do, what was it? Arts law at Monash at that time. And then I just, I didn't want to do it. I didn't even know what it was. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about because those career counsellors at school and they're just like the biggest waste of space. And they don't really care who you are or what you're going to do. A friend of mine told me the other day that the career counsellor at school was a little bit like, do you guys know, what's his name? Nathan Brown from Sportsbet. Brownie's bet of the week or whatever he does. A friend of mine told me that the careers counsellor is a little bit like Brownie's bet of the week. Like they
one
just
of
kind
100.
Yeah, they're just, but exactly. They just don't really give a shit. They're like, well, look, I'm obviously not putting money on this, so I'm happy to tell you to go and put your own money on it.
One of my teachers would always say, don't listen to them. They're a careers counsellor.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like, it's just the most ridiculous thing. They've got no skin in the game. They couldn't, I don't know about yours, but mine wasn't even like a proper careers counsellor. He was just the biology teacher who kind of dabbled in careers counselling. And he just had a look at my results and he's like, oh yeah, you're good at English, so you should probably do writing, and in law you write a lot, so just go and do that and everyone will think you're great. And I was like, oh, that's good. And then Yeah, exactly. And then a little while into it, I was like, fucking hell, I hate this. I remember the first lecture I was doing contract law and I didn't even know what a contract was. Like I knew what it was, like, but like I realized what I'm so far in over my head. But it sort of took me having a mental breakdown, probably 3 years into, or 2 years into doing it, where I was just like, what am I doing? And the ironic thing is I finished it. Like it took me 10 years, but I finished the degree because I just had this overwhelming sense of just like, I need to get this done in order to be, I don't know, worthy of what? Like, of what? Like I've no, it's just a very big old, setback of mine that I've always felt like I sort of need to be doing something worthwhile in order to be loved, which is, I think I'm sort of finally breaking through that. I'd like to think so. But I don't know. I think it's a demon that a lot of young men have.
Imagine like in your 60s and then Will comes over and he's your lawyer and you're like, I used to listen to you on the radio. This is a real fist bump moment.
To tie those 2 points we've talked about together so far, like strange content and you studying law. Yeah, obviously things can toe the line sometimes when you're doing radio. Have you ever got in some trouble with some content that you guys have done, pushed the envelope too far where your law skills have come in handy?
I've never had to.
Boys, 5 years of the pod coming up, so it's time for a performance review.
You bloody betcha, Jake. It's been too long.
It's been too long. Who's the boss? Who's telling us what we're doing?
Well, we don't have bosses here at the MacPack. You are the only stakeholder listening. So we want to throw the thing open to you. We've made a Google form with a few questions in there.
It's anonymous.
It's completely anonymous. So whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, we'll work out after the first few come through. But it does mean no matter what you put in there, we'll never know who put anything in there. We want to hear your favourite things about the pod, your least favourite things about the pod, the things you want more of, the new ideas that you might have.
Yes.
It's all open for you guys.
Link in bio, link in show notes. Hit us up.
I've never had to actually use my law degree or anything to do with the radio show, but yeah, there's plenty of times that we've done. Well, there's certainly lots of times that we've done things that I've been in a lot of trouble. I mean, the one that comes to mind off the top of my head, actually. Do you guys? So I was actually talking to you about this before we flicked the mics on about doing press junkets. So one of the things that you'll learn in radio, and I'm sure you guys would have heard this already, is because it's kind of like in common parlance, like just always assume that the microphones are on. Yeah. Have you heard that? Like just absolutely. Always assume that someone's listening. So basically, I had we had an interview with Disney for Finding Nemo, Finding Nemo 2. Finding Nemo 2 must have been hard to keep up with these movies. But it was with it was with Ty Burrell.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you know who Ty Burrell is? He's the dad in Modern Family, right? Yes. Very funny guy, lovely guy. Anyway, so we were doing a press junket and we were in Perth at the time. And so you're sort of in the studio, sort of, just fucking around waiting for somebody to tell you that you've, much like you guys would have been doing before you were waiting for me. You just sort of like, you're just joshing around there. You're not really thinking. And a friend of mine was down the line in Melbourne. Oh, no. And he just interviewed him. So he sort of came back out into the waiting room and it was just, I just thought it was us and him. And I was like, Woody I'm pretty pumped to talk to this guy. So we were like, how's he like? And my mate Hamish was like, guys, he's great. And we were like, we were just pumped. So, I would have been like 21, 22 sort of thing. So I was like, awesome, man. Awesome. Like, he's actually a legend, right? And my mate was like, yeah, he's such a legend. And I was like, so would you suck his dick? And then...
Yep.
And Hamish just like went white, like you just see him on the camera, and I was like, "Fucking hell, someone has definitely heard that." And then this screen popped up, and it was just this Karen from Disney, and she fucking flipped because I think Ty heard it. So I think he was like just tuning in, and I was talking about sucking his dick. And there's like 21-year-old kids from Perth. So yeah, we actually blacklisted the whole of SCA from all Disney conversations for 2 years. Yeah, Disney takes sucking dick seriously. It's a big deal.
Put that on that's the title of the podcast.
They take it very seriously.
That's right.
So, yeah.
That's so funny.
That's one story that comes to mind.
There you go. Wow. You've obviously mentioned Woody a fair amount so far. How did you meet Woody? What has that whole relationship been like? Because like obviously it's a relationship and it's a great friendship. How do you find going to work with your best mate every day?
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's funny you said that. Like, I think there's a line in I love Harry Potter quotes. I don't know why they just keep coming to me. There's a line in Harry Potter where Ollivander, you know, the little guy that makes all the wands, says the wizard chooses the wand. And I feel like with great friends, like it's a little bit like that. You don't choose them, they choose you. Yeah. You just kind of like it's nice. You sort of just get struck by lightning, don't you? You're like, oh yeah, this is great. You don't. There's no thought involved.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
And I remember when I met Woody, it was very similar. It was just like, holy shit, this is definitely a thing. We just kind of slipped sort of effortlessly into each other's groove and just enjoyed each other's company so much. And you just take it for granted, I think, at that age. But as you get older, particularly now, like I'm 35 now, Woods is 36, and we've both got kids, and all of our mates have got kids, and the first thing that you lose is your mates. You lose because you'll still see your family, and you'll catch up with other couples and stuff with their kids, and you're kind of doing the whole. What's that line in Old School with Will Ferrell? It's like, yeah, we've got a big Saturday plan. We're going to go out to Home Depot. It's ironic, but it's like that. Like, you're in this different world, and you lose your mates. Like they go, and you have to kind of work for the first time in your life. That's why guys are, riding bikes together and joining book clubs, and because you've actually got to set up things in your life whereby you do catch up with other men. So having a friendship whereby I get to work every day with my best friend is just like such a gift. And I think the amazing thing about our friendship is that we're actually fundamentally, like, on one level, the most different people from each other imaginable. Like Woody is, you pick any part of who I am and Woody will be the opposite. Like, he literally the opposite. But then I think underneath that, at a deeper level, we're incredibly similar. Like our values are very much aligned. So it's we and obviously, I've had a bit of time to think about that. When you're just in the slipstream of his sort of radiant fizz is how I describe him. He's just this. He's just kind of like he's just been touched by an angel. That bloke. He's just someone. He's grokked. Like deep down, he's grokked that this is his life and this is his one life, and he has a greater sense of gratitude than anyone I've ever met, and that just naturally exudes from him and just lifts everybody up around him. So I feel very lucky to be around him every day. He genuinely makes me a much happier person.
Wow, that was really nice. That's such a sweet little piece. Lovely.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I mean it. It's easy. He's just so like, yeah. He really does make life very easy for me. He really does. It's quite remarkable.
That's good. I saw earlier this year you boys chatted to Billie Eilish while she was in Australia, and you read her a letter and even brought her to tears. What's like one of the best moments you and Woody have had talking to a celebrity over the journey?
Yeah, made Billie Eilish cry. They'll have that on my tombstone. It's a big moment for me. Hot moment. She was, that was cool. The funny thing about that, and I mean, I don't know if you guys want to keep talking sort of, I like talking behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of radio gear, or just sort of I like talking about how the sausage is made. The funny thing about that was that we sort of had the 10 minutes with Billy or whatever it was, and 20 minutes I think it was, and you know, again, it's one of those junkets. We're back talking about this, one of these press junkets, right? So we're just rolling shitloads of people through. And I just had this moment where I was thinking about the interview and what I was going to say, and Woody and I, Woody will naturally, like, he'll canvas off one side of things for me, which is basically like, how do we make this as fun as we can? So in the lead up to we were playing this game called Guess the Fish for Billie Eilish. Good. Where we had to we were calling, people had to call a pub and guess what the fish of the day was, and if they guessed what the fish of the day was, then they got tickets to Billie Eilish, and the bit went off.
Imagine explaining that to someone as well, like you're at school, and you go, yeah, I'm going to Billie Eilish, and they go, how? And you go, well, I guess the fish.
I guess John Dorian, Will and Woody, and so she actually ended up so we were going to play it with her, right? So we were going to get there and get her to guess the fish for Billie Eilish, like call the pub and guess what the fish of the day was. And it was going to be fun. And then we found out that her mum was running, like, we only found out like on the drive to her house. So she was staying in this like multi-million-dollar mansion overlooking Sydney Harbour. And we're on the way there, and in an Uber X, by the way, our EP Captain Poo Pants has got us in like this fucking Hyundai XL. Like, it was just, we felt so out of sorts. And we're on the way there, and we find out, like, I don't know, someone was trawling through their phone, and they found out that her mum is like this passionate vegan, and she was running this vegan like food truck out the front of all of her daughter's gigs. So we were like, fuck, we can't be like, and her mum's there, by the way. Her mum's at all the interviews, like she goes everywhere with her. So we were like, we can't be asking Billie Eilish to guess the fish for Billie Eilish, but her mum's this passionate vegan. So we had to can the idea 30 seconds before we got there. But ironically, I'd listened to a lot of her records. So my big passion is probably music. And so I listened a bit to the record. I don't normally listen to any music that we play on the radio these days, to be honest. It's sort of pin needles in my ears. But I'd heard, the first time I heard, I can't remember what song it was from that record, but someone sent me the record and I listened to it. I've got it on vinyl now, actually, because I loved it so much. And I was away and I was listening to it a lot, and it was one of those records that you can kind of like, you listen to it in a concentrated patch.
Yeah.
And it's like it like the lyrics start meaning more to you than what they originally meant. Like, they sort of start describing your life at that time.
Yeah.
You can kind of like, you listen to it and you're like, fuck, this is me, like right now. This is me right now. I think she's talking about me. She's talking about me. And then you sort of you attach this, you get really fond of it. So that happened, and I was alone. I was sort of traveling alone by myself in surfing in Sri Lanka, and I was like, shit, I've got to write down what this means to me. And if I ever get the chance, I'm gonna tell her. Like, if I ever get the chance. And then, as fate would have it, we had this interview lined up with her, and we found out that we couldn't do Guess the Fish for Billie Eilish. So I was like, I've got this thing in my notebook which I've written about her. Maybe I should just read her that. And I read it to Woody and Ed in the car, and I was like, I was a bit shy about it. I don't really normally read things from my journal. So I was like, look, I've got this thing.
Now you can do it on radio.
This could be the shittest thing that, like, just tell me if this is just wet lettuce stuff. Like, this is pretty cringe. So I read it to them, and there was this silence, and I was like, oh no, they're going to hate it. And then they were like, Ed was like, just read her that, I reckon. Just go for that. That's good. And I was like, all right, great. So it was very, it was pretty wild. So I read it to her, and then I was like, oh fuck. It just reminded me of, I read it to her, and she, immediately teared up, and then her mum was crying, and her manager was crying, and
thanks for the music. Thanks for that.
Thank
wow. We all got tears in this bitch. Wow. My God.
And I think your shoes are cool.
Thanks.
So that's the depth of me.
Thank you so much, Will.
Pleasure. I will.
Jesus Christ. You both have like stunning, beautiful blue eyes. That's all I can think about. Also, like,
Thank you.
I was also hearing you read that. I mean, so well put and so beautiful and so, I feel like I felt so seen and understood. And I just thank you for writing that.
It's so funny, isn't it? That like
You could have been doing
that
fish.
Yeah, it could have been.
I could have been doing. We could have been doing Guess the Fish for Billie Eilish, and you know, calling a absolute shit kicker pub somewhere in Leaderville, and you know, trying to guess that you know what their fish of the day was, and then here I was sitting on this beautiful thing that I just thought was chump change, and it just kind of reminded me that you know, content wise. Yes, you can always be creative and you can be fun, but often like the best thing and the thing that is going to serve you best is the simplest thing. And the simplest thing is often the most genuine thing. It's you don't need to be too creative sometimes. Like, you know, telling someone you love them or just saying exactly the truth that your truth at any particular time is going to cut through more than anything else that you can creatively think of.
Yeah, no.
Christian O'Connell once actually said to me, you can either be genuine or you can be funny. And you can't always be funny. So stop trying. Like,
Yeah,
like
that's
the
fair.
fun will come. You'll have moments where you're like, that'll happen naturally. You'll be fun, you'll be funny, you'll be on one. But if you're not, it starts sounding shit when you're trying to be funny and you're not feeling it. So just be genuine and people will love you and respect you and you'll get as much good gear out of that doing that.
That's some great advice. I love
Bravo.
that.
Thank you.
You've mentioned in the past your love of Stephen Fry, and I watched a video. I actually showed my girlfriend a video last night of Stephen coming into the studios and surprising you.
Oh, yeah.
How did that all come about, and what was it like to meet one of your heroes?
Brilliant. Like, really brilliant. Again, tip of the cap to Woods, just really caught me off guard. I'm sure, if you guys know me well enough, you'll know that, like, I actually don't listen to any commercial radio. And, you know, tying into the question you were asking before about which celebrity guests, like, it's actually hilarious because a lot of the time, I think the reason that we sometimes get very good interviews out of people is I actually don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah.
So it's very, very rare for me to, in the commercial radio space, actually be excited about who we're interviewing. So, you know, the girls
Shout
that
out
we
to everyone listening.
right? So the girls that are in our team will be like, "Oh my God, we've got, I don't know, some just bullshit TikToker who I honestly wouldn't piss on if they were on fire." And they're, and they'll be so excited about it. And I just couldn't give a shit. But that kind of means that it's great because I haven't got any nerves around them or anything like that. Musicians I tend to, and actors I tend to, that I've got a vested interest in, but it really does. I'm just not a very commercially minded guy. It's just not in my zeitgeist. I like techno and meditation, right? So I live a very different world to what I listen to, what I do on radio. So, you know, from the start, one of my producers, Annalise, she's our guest booker at the junior producer on our show, and she's so sweet. You know, she always asks me, you know, who do you want to talk to? Who do you want to, just give me your top tier. And I'm like, all right, I want to talk to. Well, that's right. I'm like, well, I've said my whole career, I want to speak to Sam Harris. I don't know who you guys know who he is, but he's a neuroscientist and a meditation teacher. So I'm like, I want to speak to Sam Harris and I want to speak to Stephen Fry. And every time she just rolls her eyes and she's like, oh, fuck, I know, not again. Like,
Jesus, number 3.
Yeah, right. There's no 36-year-old mum driving home in her car who wants to hear Sam Harris on the radio talking about non-dual awareness. You know, it's just not the vibe. And Stephen Fry, you know, he's a gay Jewish nerd who rewrites, you know, myths from Greek antiquity. Like, that's things that I love that no one else, you know, loves. So the surprise of him coming in the studio was, Woody surprised me with Sam Harris. So when I released a mental health aid in like app form a little while ago for people that were that was struggling with depression, and he surprised me with Sam Harris for the launch of that, which was unbelievable. And then, the Stephen Fry thing was the same. It was just, I just could not believe that he was in the same room as me. And I just gave him a big hug and told him to get fucked, which he loved.
Oh my God! I mean, come on. For heaven's sake, after saying that, I had to fly over as fast as I could. Listen to you. There you go. There. That was a quick flight, but it was worth it. Hello. Nice to see you too.
Oh, Stephen, thank you so much for that.
Real pleasure.
Thank you so much. I will never forget that face.
Well.
And then I went and he asked me backstage after his show that he did that night, and I had a glass of wine with him and Jeffrey Rush.
Unreal.
Of all people. Yeah, it was pretty cool, actually. Yeah, I didn't really say anything, but it was nice.
I was there. So cool.
We heard you
go.
talking about Stephen Fry on the Imperfects podcast and how you really liked, I forget the name of the documentary.
The Secret Life of the Manic Depressive.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You touched on some of your experiences with depression and stuff. How are you tracking these days? Are you going well?
I mean, I feel like mental health is a bit like herpes. You got it for life. That's a joke, boys.
And I have both.
You can laugh. You've always got your mind, right? Like, it's the only thing you've got. Even when you're, on your deathbed and you're by yourself, everyone dies alone. Everyone dies with just their mind. So I think understanding your mind is honestly the most important thing you can do in order to be happy in this one chance you get at existence. So in terms of how am I tracking, and people say to me, "Are you better?" And I'm like, well, I don't even know what that means. Like, 'cause I don't necessarily consider having bad mental health not being healthy in a way. Like, it's just an expression of how you are at the time, and the more that you brand it as something that's bad and something that you need to get over, then of course it's just going to get worse and worse. It's like anything, unless you learn to love it, then you're going to make it upset, really. So I don't think that my necessarily like the actual thing that I experience when I get depressive episodes, I don't think that it's gone away, and I don't think that will ever really go away. But most importantly, my attitude to it has changed. It's not something that I treat as something that I suffer, that, I've got to get through in order to get back to living my life. I treat it as part of who I am. And ironically, the more that I sort of allow it to be, then the less harmful it is. So I know that might be a little more of a radical approach than what you might be expecting, but I think you've got to love yourself, and you have to love, that means loving every single part of yourself.
100%.
Every single little bit. So any sort of aversion or hate or anger towards your mental health is just going to make it last for longer.
Yeah, it's always counteractive. No, I think that's a great insight.
You've touched on your meditation, and I know a lot of like mindfulness stuff is about living in the moment and that kind of thing. Do you think doing both live radio and also like sketch comedy, which is obviously live in front of an audience, do you think that's something that you've been drawn to because it's like being in the moment?
Great question. Maybe. I've never thought of it like that. I have often thought, I spoke to you guys before about my addiction to achievement and, like getting love because I'm achieving. That means that like I'm a big thinker. Like I can really, really stew on some stuff and really think really deeply. And doing a radio show and doing live stage shows and stuff is actually probably more for me and maybe you could say the two are very much the same thing, because I don't think you ever have a greater sense of presence than when you're having fun.
Yeah.
And when you're having fun, you're so completely in the moment. And radio means that I have to have fun. I can't stew, and fun in a very broad sense of the word. Like just acting spontaneously. Yeah, I mean, like I would almost argue that on one level you could almost equate fun to a pure sense of momentary presence. Like being truly mindful. When you are, you sort of you experience a spontaneous sense of gratitude, and I think that almost leads to fun. You know, I think there are often times that I can be meditating, I can feel so present and so grateful that you can feel how fun everything is.
Yeah.
Because it's just so crazy. You're like, holy shit, there's so much going on here. Like, I am breathing. It's all happening. And I think that when you're doing radio, you know, you kind of, there's an expression I love, which is sometimes your happiness can be the smile on your face, and sometimes the smile on your face can cause your happiness. So I think that the good thing about doing like a radio show is that you don't have a choice. Like you're like, okay, well, the microphone's going on here. It does not matter what is going on in my life. It doesn't matter how my mental health is. I'm going to get up here and have some fun. Like, I've got to have fun. This is it. You know, and I've got Woody there, who's just a fun machine. And it means that it's so important for me for me specifically to have fun, because if I don't schedule fun in my life, I don't look for it naturally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that a good question. I think that is probably why I am continually drawn to it. Yeah.
Yeah, unreal. We are very mindful of your time. We've got probably 2 questions left, if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
What do you reckon you're a 10-year-old version of yourself would say to your current self? What or vice versa. What would a current day version of yourself say to a 10-year-old version of yourself?
What would a current day version of myself say to a 10-year-old version of myself?
Yeah.
Don't say that thing about Ty Burrell.
Oh, very good. Yeah. What would a current day version of myself say to a 10-year-old version of myself?
Is there any learnings that you wish you could pass back through time, or something that you wish you hadn't known?
When you're 25, don't shave your head, because you'll think it's cool, and then you'll grow your hair back and you'll be like, fuck, why did I do that? No. I would say to 10-year-old me, keep keep being interested.
I like it. That's good.
Keep being interested, I reckon. I reckon interest, I reckon, is the great dissolving agent on everything. Because if you're interested in something, then you're not judging it. You're not thinking it's good. You're not thinking it's bad. You're just interested.
Yeah.
You're just like, I actually don't really care. I think it's a beautiful place to be, is being interested. And I think naturally I'm an incredibly inquisitive person, and that can be fucking annoying because I've always got more questions and I always have long answers. And I used to think that was a real burden and a pain in the ass. And I got told that it was for a long time, but I love being interested. It's great.
No, that's fantastic. And obviously you've dominated the world of broadcasting in Australia. I know you got a nice start from Steve Vizard. You obviously impressed him from the get-go, and you were fortunate enough to sit alongside like Hamish and Andy and watch them do their show in the early days of you starting out. What sort of advice would you give to somebody who are young versions of yourself looking to do a similar path?
You're talking about yourself?
Yeah. Somewhat, yeah.
Okay. Well, gather around, my young Padawans. What would I say?
Don't say anything about Ty Burrell.
Yeah. No, I'd probably say that I think what I said at the start of the podcast is really valid, which is don't worry. Like, the number one thing that you should be concerned with is your relationship with each other.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you look after that, then you'll have a reason to keep doing it, and everything will flow from there. It doesn't matter how good your ideas are, and it doesn't matter how good a talker you are. If you want to do a show with other people, the relationships that you have with them are the reason the show works or not.
Too good.
Nice. Fortunate enough, we're brothers, so we're kind of stuck together.
It would take a bit to divide the relationship. Yeah.
It's been great to meet you guys.
It has been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Before we do finish up, with every guest that we are fortunate enough to get on the podcast, we do like to invite them to the MacPack VI pack. We have a bunch of caps, and they've all got embroidery with a specific number. So you're coming into the pack with number 32, a bit like a Test cricket cap.
Yeah.
Sick. Thanks, boys.
So we will get that one out to you in a good time. But yeah,
who was 29?
29.
29 was Ash Williams. And it's still.
Oh, wow. How was he? He's a fucking weirdo. Lovely guy, but a very strange man.
It was definitely the most unique chat.
He's
So funny.
He's extraordinary. Yeah, very funny.
It was interesting. We got a lot of fantastic feedback, more or less people being like, I think we were as shocked as to what was going on as the listeners were, which is
always good.
It's an exciting place to be, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I love that.
Thank you so much for the chat. It's been absolutely fantastic. We are huge fans, so it was unreal to get to chat to you for a little while today.
Yeah, I just wanted to say as well, thanks for being so brave and vulnerable with all the things you talk about on Imperfects, and you continue to do so. It's really cool to look up to someone in the industry who's so open about their feelings. So it's really cool.
That's so sweet. It's honestly absolutely my pleasure, and getting that sort of feedback is 100% fuel for me to keep doing it, because it can be a bit scary sometimes, but just knowing that I know that it's helping other people, particularly young dudes, which I know was a pretty hectic part of my life. So for somebody else to say that's really nice. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
And you also mentioned the app earlier, and you used to have a podcast you did with Woody, the Share My Mood. Is that ever going to come back, or are you looking to do more stuff like that soon?
Yeah, we've got another pod that's going to come out pretty soon. I've been pretty busy being a dad recently, and I'm writing a book at the moment, so that's kind of taken all my time. So I will. It'll happen soon.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. Yeah. Things happening.
Very cool.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it.
Been a pleasure.
What a ledge.
Play those harps, Jake.
Oh,
he's good at what he does, eh?
I was transported here.
You pulled out the big, what do they call that?
Harp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pulled out the big harp for Will. What a show.
Lovely guy, lovely chat. It was a very different. I didn't know what to expect initially, to be completely honest.
Yeah,
but it was a very advanced conversation. I liked how deep a thinker he is.
Yeah, me too.
I like how he was able. Yeah, he really some. Obviously, we got to like some pretty like deep topics, but there was some question where he really like, I'm gonna think about what I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
before I say it.
Yeah, he absolutely sat in the thought, which I think is I think that's a fantastic thing, to have the confidence. And I would almost go as far as to say the respect to answer a question with genuine thought. I think it's one of the big issues I have is I often am speaking. I've mentioned this to you before. I'm often speaking my answer before I've even been asked the fucking question. So it was actually nice to see someone get asked a question, acknowledge, especially with you. We're yet to do an episode where Joe doesn't get good question.
Yeah, I don't know why.
But I do usually. There are times where I don't ask a question for ages.
Yeah.
Oh, you reckon it's a confidence thing?
No, not a confidence thing. I'm just like,
you're brewing,
waiting to come up with a good question.
Oh, you don't think it's them going, this kid is silent.
Oh, Joe's here.
Oh, Joey, and that's a really good question. Yeah, that's a little boy. No, maybe that's the play. But they are always good questions. They are lovely.
I think one of my favorite insights on the early radio days was the script, which is something that people like
joke about.
Yeah, people do joke about, like, you know, iconic radio people.
Yeah,
they're like, I like, how are they like so funny? They must like
Yeah.
Right, they must plan it out or whatever.
Yeah.
But apparently when you plan it out, it's a lot harder.
Yeah, the more I get to know about the world of radio is
The less you know, the better.
well, the process in which is involved is quite important, but often the people with the microphones in front of their face, the less they have an idea about what the process is,
Yeah.
the better it sounds. And I would love to get one of those script shows. Part of me was like, would you be able to hear the rattling in the background as they're going through their script?
We should try and do one.
I would hate it.
It would be actually harder to come off as
Absolutely.
el natural.
Yeah, no,
Like actors are like so good at like cutting each other off over specific lines to make it feel as though it's an authentic convo.
It would be terrible. Some of the advice he gave and some of I think mainly the way in which he went about answering questions. And the wizard, you're right there?
Yeah, I'm all good. Joey's just got the old low battery on that MacBook over there.
Dangerous.
Classic Joey running the gauntlet.
He was very in depth about the way in which he... What's going on?
He's turning on Bluetooth.
Your Bluetooth.
Throwing low power mode for us, Joey. But
Bluetooth is a battery drainer.
Oh, now you've just gone full darkness.
Yeah, who knows? Carry on.
If you never hear this, we know why. But the in-depth way in which he went about answering the questions and some of the stuff that he did say will genuinely sit with me forever. Probably without him being aware, obviously, will definitely change the way that I have an outlook on the world. Some of the stuff that he said made me genuinely think.
Anything
differently.
in particular?
He's doing the deep thinking.
Yeah, nice, dude. He's already picked it up.
I think the stuff around process, I don't know if it was before. I think it actually might have been after we had recorded. There's one thing in particular that has really sat with me.
Yep.
And then outside of that, give me a moment.
Yeah, I really liked how he did say he didn't say in this, but I'd know that he got a really high ATAR equivalent from over East.
Yes.
And he studied law and graduated law.
Yes.
And he did sound like someone who was very smart.
I really liked the bit that you said at the end.
Yes.
Catch
I
you
really
later.
like that. Yeah.
I see you
See
soon.
on the flip side. I think that was where we
See you on the
am.
flippity flip, my
Yeah.
G.
No, the ability to acknowledge like his own feelings and his own his own process about how he goes about things was very impressive. And his openness he's always been very open about his struggles with mental health and all sorts of challenges that he's faced over the journey. But to answer the questions as eloquently as he did, and I think personally, my favorite bit of the whole thing was the way that he described Will.
Yep.
Woody.
Sorry, this is the way that the way that Will described the way that Will described Woody. Sorry, who have we been talking to? I think it was Will.
Holy shit. Dude.
No, the way that he described Woody was, unreal.
Yeah, that was sick. Yeah, if anyone ever says something that nice about me, I'd be so chuffed.
like part of me thought Will might be on the other side of the camera. With
Woody, you did it again.
Sorry.
Yeah, Woody with a gun.
Woody standing over there with a gun saying, howdy, howdy, howdy.
Very good. It was an absolute pleasure to chat to Will. Hopefully we do get the opportunity to see him in the flesh in the future because, he's a lovely man.
Yeah. Be sure to call him Will.
Boys, it has been an absolute pleasure until we do this time next week. Stay safe, stay blessed, and always remember to
Go give your mum a hug.
It's ciao for now. Bye now forever. G'day, guys. Hope you're enjoying the podcast.
As always.
We're about to be enjoying the podcast anyway. Yeah. If you are enjoying the pod, make sure to send it to a friend. Yeah. And excitingly, there's a brand new feature.
New feature alert.
On Spotify, which is that little feedback box.
The box. We love a little box.
And on the on each of the episodes, you can plug away a bit of feedback for the show. So you can literally say basically give us some feedback specific to the show that you just listened to, the episode you just listened to. No matter what episode you're up to, ping us in that feedback, and then you can that feedback will then feature for other people who are catching up or they're listening to the episodes. They will see that as well, and most importantly, we like to see it. So if you can share it with your friends and write a few little words in the box, it would mean the absolute world to us.